be more positive and in command of our lives, and to have less stress. So it's really good and it works. And if you practice it regularly, you can actually see on a brain scan within 5 days of 10 minutes a day, you can see that your command center neocortex has got denser, there's more cells, more connections, while the amygdala, which deals with stress, has shrunk because the stress is going down. So what is mindfulness? It is, I call it a bird with two wings, and the first wing is bring your attention here and now to this moment in time and notice what it's like to be me just now, here and now. And it's almost like stepping outside of yourself and observing yourself in a way which is looking inside rather than looking at the outside world. So you're noticing where you are, physically where you are. You're noticing what you're doing. You're noticing the movement in your body. You're noticing your emotions. You're noticing your physical sensations in your body. And you're noticing your thoughts. And the mindfulness bird, the second wing, is the attitude you bring to what you observe. And it's an attitude of kindliness, compassion, self-love, a really attentive curiosity, almost scientific curiosity to notice what's going on. The more you do it, the more you notice. You get that kind of observational muscle really, really strong. And the important thing about this is your attitude is only self-loving with no criticism or judgment. And that self-love expands so that you're observing the world around you much more with appreciation, with love, with self-giving, and no criticism and judgment. Now the mindfulness bird can sit in its nest, and that means you do exercises where you say, okay, now I'm going to do a 10-minute mindfulness exercise. You find somewhere quiet and you concentrate on an exercise that you want to practice, and it might be using your senses. You can use the sense of sight, sound, texture and touch, or you might be taking your attention to your breath and observing your breath. But the mindfulness bird doesn't just sit in its nest, it can fly, and that means you take that mindfulness attitude into any activity you're doing during the day. And you can be mindful and notice what it looks like and sounds like and the textures and the temperatures of anything you're doing. And that brings your attention to do it in a far more conscious way. And when you're here and now in the moment, and you're focused on what is the experience of this moment, there's usually very little stress. A lot of the stress comes when our mind goes time traveling. Something horrible happens, and that's just in that moment, but then it's on the past. But your mind has a habit of dwelling on that horrible thing and remembering it and bringing all the stress associated with it into the present moment, which isn't stressful, but it is now because you're thinking about that or reflecting or ruminating on that unpleasant thing. Or your mind can be worried about what might happen in the future. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen if that, and it hasn't even happened. So you're inventing stress and bringing it into the present moment. So sometimes we can use mindfulness in any activity. We can be still lying in bed, notice what it's like, the warmth and the softness of the bedclothes. And then you can notice mindfulness when you're washing your face or brushing your teeth. What's it sound like? What's it feel like? The temperature of the water. Really bring your attention closely into that moment. You can do it into everything. And today I brought a plum. And I'm going to do a mindfulness exercise involved with eating. And this time I won't do the usual exercise of having a stretch first and reflecting on my body or my breath, I'm just going to start by, I've made some cuts in it, looking at my plum and noticing the colours and textures and the temperature. It's quite cool. My tummy is rumbling in anticipation. The way I've cut it. And then I'm going to notice what it smells like. I've never smelt the plum before. In all my years, I never smelt a plum. It has a distinct smell, really fresh. And I notice that my mouth is already salivating in anticipation. And then I'm going to touch it to my lips and notice the temperature and the texture. And then I'm going to, it's quite cold and damp in the cut part. Spontaneously my tongue is coming out and tasting the juice. There's more salivation. I'm sucking it and noticing the taste. Biting it and noticing the sound of the bite, as well as the texture and the taste. Chewing it really slowly so that I can notice all the sensations. It often helps to shut your eyes because you can concentrate more. Noticing the smoothness of my teeth and my tongue. And the softness of the fruit. And then I'm going to swallow and notice what the swallow feels like. Noticing the way my tongue goes around my mouth to scoop the bits of plum up so that they're in the right place for swallowing. Hello, Ayeesha, Gaza. Great to see you. I'm doing an exercise this morning to do with being mindful while you eat. And I'm eating a plum. And the first thing I did was to smell it, to notice what it looks like, to notice the texture and the temperature, and then very slowly to put a piece in my mouth. And notice the temperature, the taste, the way that my mouth is salivating, the sound of the chewing. I'm letting my tongue rest on my teeth and different parts of my mouth and noticing their texture and temperature, which I would normally never do. I'm so happy to see you. One more bit. Mindfulness is all about being in this moment, really noticing what it's like to be me, here and now. You can do it anywhere with any activity. Obviously, the mindfulness bird, ideally let it sit in its nest for 2 to 10 or 15 minutes every day. And in that time, when you're doing a mindfulness exercise, just sitting quietly, observing what it's like to be here and now, you're really building up the muscles of concentration and reducing stress in a conscious way. But you can also be the mindfulness bird that's not sitting its nest, it's going flying. And that's when you take mindfulness into every activity, every moment of the day. It might be walking, or washing your face, or eating something. Just for a minute or two in any activity, take your attention. Imagine you're stepping outside of yourself and looking at yourself and noticing what it's like to be me here and now. And Ayeesha, your experience is going to be very different from mine. But it would be lovely to exchange mindfulness experiences. We can do that on WhatsApp perhaps. So now I'm finishing my mindfulness exercise and I'm going to say bye-bye, and we can chat on WhatsApp for a few minutes if you like, if you've got good Wi-Fi. But I don't want my videos to go on too long or they get boring. And I'm just going to say, I love you. Have a lovely day. Love to all your family and big hugs to you too. And we can chat in a bit on WhatsApp. And I'll share my cat with you as well. She's sitting on the foot of my bed. There you go. Oh, that's good. I pressed a button on the phone and it paused. So anyway, I was showing you Bella. Bella, Bella, Bella. Bella, Bella, Bella. Bella, Bella, Bella. And also I'll show you the silk painting. I showed it right at the start. But I was saying yesterday, I was inspired to do something with butterflies. Watch while I rub my nose. I think it's the cattails. Makes my nose itch. But I said yesterday I was inspired to do something with silk painting with butterflies. So when I went for a walk, I like to go for a walk I love cats too. I like to go for a walk by the river, there's trees, it's like there's a path called a towpath by the River Thames nearby. And I like to go there for some forest bathing, for some exercise. And forest bathing is a good way to reduce stress. Not very easy to do in Gaza because there's not many forests, they've all been bombed. But you can go by the sea, it would have the same effect if you're not too far from the sea. Being surrounded by nature is the best way to reduce stress. So I got inspired to do some more silk painting and make some silk paint with butterflies on. And I took the frame, you have to stretch the silk on a frame, took it to for my walk, and I sat on a bench under some trees and stretched the silk. And then when I came home, I started to do my butterflies design. So look at this then. Now you can tell me I'm clever. I'm actually not very happy with some of the designs because the mind is never satisfied, which is why you have to be not using your mind. You have to use your power of concentration to be here and now and in the moment, observing what's going on and not using the mind too much. But that's my design so far. And I'm using batik, I'm using wax to seal some of the colours. So we've got some little daisies around the edge coming up. And the other thing that I showed this morning was when I went for my walk, I always like to share nature in some way on my video. So I got dock. Docks are quite interesting because here we have a plant called nettle which stings. And if you get a nettle sting, get some dock leaves and rub it, and it neutralises the acid that is in the sting. I think it's formic acid, but I'm not sure. But I got the docks because they grow really wild and rough, and they don't look very much, and most people will always walk past them. But when you stop and look, they have very nice flowers. Can you see them? Oh my word, there's a caterpillar. Can you see the caterpillar? I didn't see that before. He's so well camouflaged. Can you see the little caterpillar? And can you see the flowers? Little tiny white flowers with spiky petals. Very, very tiny. That one you can see it's on the plum. You can see its little petals better. I'm going to put it back in the vase, and I'll have to take it back outside and put it back where it was growing because the caterpillar needs to go home. That is so interesting. Okay, and the poem that I read this morning, I'll read it again for you because it's something that you might find helpful. I'm not sure if I've done it before on a live, but I'll do it now. What happened is I have a daughter in India. She's a teacher in Kolkata, and we chat on WhatsApp and get on the phone on live phones with videos on. And she was telling me a problem she'd got, and I was giving her good advice, as always. So let me just finish the story about my poem, and then I'll tell you the cat. So her problem was serious, but it was temporary. It was something we were able to sort out together. And she was saying, oh, my life is so blessed, like in a sarcastic way. And I took her at her word and said, it is indeed. And she said, no, I was being sarcastic. And I said, yes, I know, but we are blessed. We are so unbelievably blessed just to have family members or friends we can talk to when something's in trouble. They say that if you share joy, the joy doubles. And if you share a problem, the problem is halved. So we are unbelievably blessed. And just in having that friendship and that family connection. And being alive still here on this planet. Being alive is such an amazing blessing. Having a universe, having a planet. It's unbelievable gratitude for everything. So I shared with her this poem because it's one that I use a lot. We're not expected to be perfect. We're not expected to get everything right. The great creator, God, Allah, whatever you call, asks us to try. Not to be perfect, just to try. To try to do the right thing, to try to be the right person, to try to know him more and receive his love and share his love and recognize that we're all part of each other. Okay, so this is called Yet You Are Fond of Me. God, I am absent-minded, yet you are fond of me. God, I am negligent, yet you are fond of me. God, I am insecure, yet you are fond of me. God, I am impure, yet you are fond of me. God, why are you so fond of me? My child, I am fond of you because you try. I am fond of you because you cry. And that kind of crying doesn't mean sitting in a corner crying your eyes out with lots of tears. It actually means you're crying to be better. You're crying to know God more. You're crying to do the right thing. You're crying because you notice your faults and you're trying to do better. So this is why I love the poem so much. And I've recommended to my daughter that we both memorize it. We learn it by heart. And then we've got it with us all the time, whatever trouble is going on in our life. And my darling Ayeesha, my cat's name is Bella. And her mother is grandmother to 3 other cats I have. And their names, they're tabby cats, and they're outside at the moment because I went down earlier and fed them, and then they wanted to go outside. So their names are Misty. Misty is the most mischievous one, or I could say naughty. First of all, she dribbles. When she's happy, she dribbles. So she'll climb on my laptop and dribble on it, which I'm not happy about. And secondly, she doesn't always use the cat litter. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to resolve because I haven't got time to deal with cat litter mess. I'm going to have to remove the carpet that's in the hall because she peed on it. It is a very old and dirty carpet, so I'm not going to cry about getting rid of it. And I'll probably replace it with lino because you can wash lino. And that is well enough for a live this morning. I must get on with other things. But all my love, and thank you for joining me, and see you tomorrow perhaps, and certainly chat on WhatsApp a bit. But not for long because I've got a serious day ahead. Masses to do. Loads of love to you, and take care, and love to your family, and stay mindful. Whatever your circumstances are, you can take your attention to here and now, in the moment, and reduce the stress. And notice for yourself how your mind creates stress. Because I guess in Gaza, more than anywhere else, you're going to be thinking of so many stressful things in the day. I'm going to send you the link to a video that I just saw on Instagram with Ahmed Muin. He's one of my heroes. So follow Ahmed Muin and follow Ahmed the Little Farmer. They're 2 inspiring people in Gaza who I love to bits. Take care now. Bye. Bye. I love you so much too. Gratitude for meeting Ayeesha. Bye.